The bottom line is I'm going to be in the Bay Area for the finals this year. Warriors going to the finals. And let me say, hold on. Let me say something else. I think LeBron has won his last title. I think it's over.
Okay. I'm glad 15 games into the season you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm glad 15 games into the season you feel like LeBron James has won his last title. Not including that, Jay, as you know, every championship team makes some sort of adjustments when they need to before trade deadlines.
What do they have to offer anybody?
You know,
that's the problem.
It doesn't, but it's not what they have to offer. It's what they can go out and get.
Okay.
You know, there's a guy, for instance, that sits in and he may not want to ever play basketball again, but works at ESPN that can shoot the lights out. I think he's a 47% three-point shooter or whatever it is.
Name is JJ Redick.
I'm gonna get there. That's a guy that, you know, maybe they sniff around, see what his shot looks like later on down the line if they were looking for that guy. Guy named JJ Redick. No, I'm just saying. Teams make, and this is what I was trying to tell Stephen A. I'm like, they do make adjustments. I get it. Golden State is the flavor of the month. Steph Curry, they doing the thing. Klay Thompson coming back. But you ain't gonna never be able to count that dude LeBron out till it's over. You can't count him out. You'll be foolish. And this is not me being a Laker fan. This is me being a basketball fan. You can't count him out. No way.
I think it's erroneous to have a take that LeBron James will never win a championship again. I'm not going to bet against a guy that last year averaged 25, 8, and 8, who is one of the most gifted passers the game has ever seen, has the ability to elevate everybody around him, who is an absolute savant on the court. Is the question of shooting or their defense being an issue to a degree? Yes, but we are a month into the season. We're a month into the season. And let's not forget, last year was the first time LeBron has ever been knocked out in the first round against the Phoenix Suns. So is everything working out perfectly with the Lakers right now? No, but LeBron has been out. Taylor Horton-Tucker has been out until recently. They're getting shooting back. Like, let's not act like this team doesn't have motivation to get there. And I understand Golden State's playing at a high clip right now. You also have to see it sustained over a 5-month period.
Yeah, that's my whole thing.
Come on, man.
No matter who it is, whether it's Brooklyn, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's Milwaukee, whether it's Denver, Utah, whatever the case may be, let's get to the second half of the season before we get a clear picture through the clouds. Because we don't know what Dallas is all of a sudden. Porzingis is going to start to continue to play. Luka get healthy. What we don't know. We just don't. I understand.
I hear what you're saying.
I think we know.
Yeah, I'm just not betting on Porzingis. That's all. I hear what you're saying.
I think we know.
To all of a sudden, the light comes on and then he becomes what the Knicks thought he was going to be. You just don't know until certain times come. You know, all of a sudden, everybody waiting on Melo to cool all the way off. What if he just stays hot the whole rest of the way? What if he just catches fire and the rest of the way? Or they decide to move Russell Westbrook, into more of a second unit type role because they realize when LeBron's off the floor, he's at his best. They finally say, hey, we're going to start him for 6 minutes for ego purposes, but we're going to remove him. When LeBron comes off, he goes on. What if they decide to do that? Or what if he decides to start knocking down some jumpers and not turning the ball over? The second half of the seasons for him from the last 3 years on 3 different teams has seemed like it's gone in a positive direction.
I saw a Laker team that won a championship in a bubble because they were able to stay healthy. I don't see Anthony Davis ever able to stay healthy through the course of a season. And LeBron James turns 37 at the end of December.
What did he turn last year?
37. You can do the math. You know,
36. And what did he turn the year before that?
Yeah, and
the year before that.
Okay,
the year before that.
I'm glad you said that because you know how many years it's been since he's played about 70% of his team's games in a season? And normally he was always playing 65, 70, 72, 80 games.
He didn't play last
year
year because they fell on him and he had like a high ankle sprain. So he couldn't finish the deal.
It's amazing how the older you get, the more
injured.
injuries find you. It's just the way it is.
This is the first time that he's had, I want to say, a soft tissue injury, right?
I get. Listen, I'm just going to say this: what Stephen A's take was not a hot take. It was it's an observation.
Oh, I'm not mad at that.
I don't think what he's saying is outrageous.
I don't either.
But
I don't think
to
so.
bet against LeBron, no. I don't think it's easy to bet against LeBron.
I'm just not betting against
But
that.
to say, he'll never win a championship, it's very possible.
No, it is.
Based on reality of where it is.
It certainly is.
Ending 4 guys worthy of enshrinement, right, or to be memorialized that way. For the Lakers, it's an editing exercise. Who do you leave off? Tough to leave some of these guys off. Like, Kobe and Magic are on. And I think Jerry West is on because he was one of the greatest players of all time and then arguably the greatest executive of all time in basketball. The logo, tough to leave him off, right? So that, are you going to put Wilt on? I don't think so. Wilt doesn't make it. By the time he was a Laker, he wasn't as good as he once was. And he didn't spend most of his career on the Lakers, and he won one championship in L.A. Does, obviously, James Worthy and Pau Gasol, great players, they don't make it. Does Elgin Baylor? No championships. Not if you're a Laker, you ain't going to make it. Don't tell me about Mike and get out of here with that. Shaq? Does Shaq make it? Got 3 rings in L.A. 3-peat, 3 consecutive finals MVPs. Shaq doesn't make it onto the Lakers Mount Rushmore. So can LeBron make it with 1 championship? I don't think so, because I mentioned Magic and Kobe and Jerry West. That leaves 1 spot. That's Kareem's right now. He's got 5 chips with the Lakers, several of them as the best player on earth. LeBron's got 1 chip with the Lakers. 1 full season as the best player on earth. Because that wasn't him last year. He was among them while he was healthy. He won the very best. And it wasn't him his first year with the Lakers. So it seems to me that LeBron's not even next in line to get on the Lakers Mount Rushmore. Next in line seems to me to be Shaquille O'Neal. So what does LeBron have to... LeBron not only has to bump Shaq, he then has to bump Kareem. Not going to be easy. But if he plays, let's say 5 more years, because he mentioned 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's take the lower end of what he said. 5 more years with the Lakers. And let's say 4 of them he remains an elite player, and then in that 5th year he's not as he's not an elite player anymore. And who knows how long he'd want to hang around after that, right? And let's say in those 5 years he makes 2 finals and wins a championship. Let's say he wins a championship when he's not even an elite player anymore, right? He's not the best player on the team when he does. He doesn't bump Kareem. He don't even get past Shaq for the Lakers. LeBron would have to, in the next 5 years, win a minimum of 2 more championships as the best player in the world to get past Shaq. Still hasn't taken out Kareem. Now, it's not impossible for him to get on Mount Rushmore because you can't underestimate LeBron. If he plays another 7 years and wins 3 more titles as the best player in the world, because remember, Kareem won the best player in the world the last couple titles. But if LeBron does that, I guess he would be on Mount Rushmore over Kareem. He'd have to play till he's 43 years old. Oh, it's so gangster with the Lakers. But we had this conversation, this debate on First Take. What LeBron would do, whether or not he made Mount Rushmore, if he even played 5 more years with the Lakers and won another championship, he'd go into the Hall of Fame as a Laker. He would be most remembered as a Laker, believe it or not, for several reasons. One, he will have played, if he plays 5 more years for the Lakers, he will have played twice as long for L.A. as for Miami. And if he wins at least 1 more championship, he will have won twice as many championships for L.A. than he did for Cleveland. And because being a Laker, it's like being a Yankee. Like Reggie Jackson started his career in Oakland, ended his career in Oakland, or at least with the Athletics. It was Kansas City Athletics his first year. Started his career with the Athletics, ended his career with the Athletics, played 10 years, 9 of them in Oakland, won 3 consecutive World Series as the A's cleanup hitter, was an all-star and MVP, everything for the A's, played only 5 years with the Yankees, only 2 World Series with the Yankees, went into the Hall of Fame as a Yankee. Like, if you're a Laker and you do a lot, that's what you're going to be known for, because, like it or not, the Lakers are more important than every other franchise combined. That's 1. 2, recency bias. Quick, who else did Wilt Chamberlain play for? Well, I don't know. I didn't grow up around Wilt Chamberlain. Right, but you remember he played for the Lakers, don't you? And eventually, people who didn't grow up watching LeBron will see the most recent footage of LeBron as a Laker. So I don't know if he ever makes Mount Rushmore, but I'll tell you this. If he plays another 5 years for the Lakers and wins at least one more. Martin in Anaheim, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio. Just start talking. Don't start saying, what's up? What's up, Martin? Go.
Hey, check it out. LeBron, ring chaser LeBron, changing his jersey number. Who's he going to try to get now to go join them so he can try to get another ring, which ain't going to happen.
I mean,
but who you think he's going to go after?
Can I mention something? Who wins a ring who does not ring chase nowadays? Who won the title? Who won the title last year?
I grew up watching Jordan.
Okay. Jordan didn't have to ring chase because they got him Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant and later Dennis Rodman. He didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, but you yourself, Max, have said Scottie Pippen wasn't on Jordan's level.
But Pippen was a great.
Nowhere near his level.
But. If my point is, if you're a big, you need another guy on your level. If you're a wing, you just need some great players. Like, not only is there no one on Jordan's level, but if you're Jordan, you don't need Hakeem to win, right? If you're Jordan, well, Hakeem didn't need Jordan. Hakeem existed in a league. He won 2 titles in a league that Jordan wasn't there. As soon as Jordan got back, no more for Hakeem. The point is,
Max.
Jordan with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Horace Grant is enough. But that's Michael Jordan. LeBron James was getting no help in Cleveland, and Gilbert was bringing no help. He's like, the hell with this. He linked up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and later with Kyrie and Kevin Love, and later with AD. Why is that? I mean, is it ring chasing? I guess he didn't want to have his, end his career on bad teams with no rings. But if LeBron's a ring chaser, then all his rings are ring chasing. What about Kawhi? Got one with the Spurs. Right, the guys who don't ring chase are the guys the team they're on originally puts great teams around them. They don't have to ring chase. But even Kawhi left, went to Toronto and got a ring. Went to the Clippers. Is that ring chasing? He brought Paul George there. KD joined the Warriors, then brought Kyrie and Harden to Brooklyn. Is that ring? Those are the guys who win. The players are the superstars are now the GMs. But it was no different back in the day. You think Magic won on non-super teams? Kareem and Norm Nixon and everyone there, they mid-season acquisitions of all-stars, and later James Worthy in them? You think Larry Bird won on non-super teams? McHale and Parrish and everybody, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge could shoot the lights out. They had Bill Walton off the bench. No, they all went on super teams. All right, who's next? Let's
Brendan? Go to David in Ohio.
David in Ohio, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max, regarding super teams, I don't think Jordan ever had to face a super team like the Warriors or the Nets. And how would you compare, or how would you think those Bulls teams would do against those two teams?
Well, first of all, you can't just pluck teams out of their eras because the Bulls teams couldn't shoot the three and didn't shoot a lot of them back in that day. Just like these teams aren't used to hand checking. You'd have to think if those Bulls teams existed now, everyone would shoot the three better because they would practice it much more often. And the roster would be slightly tweaked to reflect the fact that they need more shooting. And if that Warriors team went back then, also similar thing. They'd have to get used to a rougher defense and bring on, maybe tweak the roster so you have players who could do that. So you're really not just saying how would they do against each other. You're saying how did each dominate their own era. The Bulls were the best, clearly, and by far the greatest franchise of all time, or greatest dynasty of all time, with the 72-win Bulls, with Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. You had arguably the three greatest defenders at three different positions, the greatest player of all time, who's also the greatest scorer, arguably the greatest coach of all time, and you had shooting, too. They had shooters. And they had size in the front court. That was impossible. Those Bulls teams were impossible. But in terms of a collection of talent, if they just want to put them on the court by today's rules in play, probably this Nets team would win, right? Because shooting, you get one extra point for shooting and hitting a three. And that Bulls team wouldn't be allowed to play defense the way they did then.